I'm Bill Bria.
And I'm Ansel Burch.
And it's
time to party! We're not doctors. We don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly. Today's episode was recorded on July 15th, 2024.
Party people, welcome back to the show that never ends.
It could. We could stop.
Don't say that.
Didn't say I wanted to.
We can't start the show by saying that.
I heard that the show never ends because it actually just loops back around and starts up again.
Yeah, that's it feels like we've done this before. Is what we're saying.
Yep.
Party people, welcome back. We hope this email finds you well. If not, sucks.
Buy a Tushy bidet.
Party people, we hope you're living day by day, as hard as it is to do in these unprecedented times. But luckily, we have friends, right, Ansel? Yeah, we have friends to get us by. And for this month, we have an amazing friend in the form of Bill Bria.
Hey, what is up, folks?
Bill, I believe I've said this to your face, but every time we talk, you get more and more interesting because I find out something new about you.
Yeah, I mean, especially when the bar was low to begin with. When we first met, you thought I was just as dull as dishwater. Really, just like the most obnoxiously bland human being to ever live.
That's not true.
You just got to make baby steps from there.
Yeah, no, there's nowhere to go but up.
It's not true because you have a phenomenal mustache. Oh, so that already starts you.
Mustaches go a long way with Ben, is what I've learned.
Hey, I mean, I know that the listeners can't see, but Ansel, clearly, time traveler.
You have
amazing.
Commented on it so many times.
Yeah, that's true. Party people would know by now.
Yeah, they know. They know.
Ansel, you do have a lovely full bush on your noggin.
Thank you. Yeah, I manicure it. You gotta put up a good show.
I still am waiting for the day that you cosplay as the Dreamfinder from
it's gonna happen.
It has to, right? Like you need a little figment. It'll be great. Oh,
actually,
my God,
Ansel, with your headphones and your get up right now, I'm getting a huge like Emerson Lake Palmer vibe. I'm getting maybe like a 70s sound engineer, but like I'm feeling like you're more in the band. I'm feeling like you're at least doing some bass, doing some, synth noodling.
Ooh, I'd get down with that.
Yeah.
And Bill knows about bands.
Sure.
He's a professional musician.
Oh, I'm a very professional musician. No,
professional comedy musician.
Yeah, there's a big distinction there.
Those are all the ones I know.
We get to exactly. Yeah, most musicians are clowns. I love you, musicians.
Certainly, in my experience.
I do not mean any ill will. No, it is a fully self-imposed dig that I just made. But I've been lucky enough over the course of the time that I've known my buddy and partner Sam Haft, who, if listeners maybe don't know the name, he's one half of the Living Tombstone, an actual music group. Not that I'm not in part of, but he's also the songwriter or one of the songwriters for Has Been Hotel, the successful A24 Amazon animated series. And he has his own, side project as well, just self-titled Sam Haft. So this just turned into a plug for Sam. I don't know. Why did that happen? Sam.
He's not even here.
I know he's not even here. He does pay me money, though. So I'll get some more money from him.
Oh, well, that's good. Keep that going.
Yeah, no, we did our project, which is technically still ongoing, called Sam and Bill. Very original name. And we recorded one full-length album, a bunch of EPs. We still play shows occasionally. We just played a show in Vegas 2 months ago. We were going to play a show last week, but unfortunately Sam got COVID. So, he's all right now. But
good.
Yeah, he's good. So so we're keeping that going. But that is what Ben is alluding to.
Also, shout out to Sam for Pop It Up.
Yes.
Because thanks to Sam, a bunch of us got to go to Henson Studios.
Yeah, thanks to Sam double booking himself and not realizing he was supposed to be at a convention in Vegas the same day as the Puppet Up show. So he was very generous.
Oh no!
And allowed us to continue to go to the show even though he couldn't make it. So next time we're going to get Salmon to get to see the puppet up.
Oh, he was supposed to go.
Yeah, he was
wasn't
supposed to be with us.
in the show.
No, he was supposed to be with us.
Okay.
Yeah, no. He's not a member of Henson's troupe, no. As much as he'd love to be. I'd love to be, but
Oh god.
yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Puppet Up was so good, right, Bill?
It was very good.
Oh,
Very
man.
cool to see.
But also being in Brian Henson's office and asking him questions was really cool too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no.
That's dope.
Because I guess that's part of the VIP ticket experience, is that you get a little bit of a tour, as well as you get to sort of have a quick meet and greet with Brian on the day, or night rather. And yeah, the Henson Company, it's actually a bummer. I don't know if you've heard, Ansel, but Henson's is moving out of the studio lot that they've been on for the last, how many years have they been there, Ben? Like,
oh, so many.
So many.
I had not heard
yeah,
that.
no, they're moving locations. I don't know if it's actually been said specifically, but I think they're moving to a space in Burbank. So they're not moving far, but they used to be where they still are right now, but they're going to be moving, I think, in the next couple months from the old Chaplin Studios, which is around La Brea. And yeah, it's just a really cozy space. They, with a lot of history in the film world. And it's unfortunate, but well, hopefully they'll find a good new home. Oh, I'm sure you can't see it, listeners, but Ben is holding up the souvenir from Puppet Up, which is a hot dog puppet kind of rod thing, which is signed by Brian Henson.
Signed by Brian Henson.
Yeah.
Wow.
I love this guy. He's next to my desk now.
Aw.
Anyway, so now that we've gotten to know a little bit about Bill, why don't we...
Oh, you know what? Can I say one more
about-
thing? That one reason I feel like I should be on this show, which is that I am a journalist and a critic. I actually have credentials in the film space, so I'm not just some rando
relevant to the conversation
comedian. Yeah. No, yeah. So I've been writing professionally for the last about 10 years, and I've been with the website Slash Film, which Ben unfortunately used to be at, but
Yes.
we were coworkers for a brief period, but a lovely period. And yeah, I'm fortunate to be able to still be there, but I also freelance with a few other websites here and there as well. And yeah, so that's what I do most of my professional time these days.
I'm going to put you on the spot then. What do you think is the best review you've written this year so far?
This year, I would probably say
Furiosa?
I did not get to write the Furiosa review.
You did the
I did
interviews
an interview,
for that.
which I think is the best interview I've done all year, which I got to talk to Mr. George Miller, Dr. George Miller. What a prince, what a gentleman. But no, review that I wrote, I think, would probably be of a movie that's still not out yet. I don't know if it even has a release date, but Netflix bought it out of Sundance. It's called It's What's Inside. And it's a movie whose premise they're trying to keep a lid on, because part of the fun of the movie is watching it for the first time, discovering what it's actually all about. It's a very high concept thing. And so I had to write, I think 800, 900 word review, kind of dancing around everything about the premise, because you really, obviously, as a journalist, you do have privilege to be like, oh, screw you guys, I'm going to give it all away. And I do think there's some reviews on the internet that do give it all away. So if you want to really find out what the premise is, I'm sure you could do a Google. But I tried to, play the game and see, as a self-challenge, see if I could get through it. And I did. So I think I did pretty well with that.
That's a great answer. I was not prepared for you to have that involved a response. That's great.
I got answers in the chamber, baby.
Heck yeah.
What's my best review? The next one.
Yeah.
You know what, Ben? That's the winner. That's the winner.
Whichever one they hire me to do tomorrow.
Bill just has like an old timey hat and like a trench coat. He's like,
He's got like race tickets in the band.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got a huge
Opens
scar
up
down
his
the side
old
of my face.
typewriter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How did I get the scar? I don't know.
It made you more interesting.
All right, party people. This month on Time to Party, we will be taking a look at the 2006 film Deja Vu. If you don't know about this movie, let me tell you what our good friends at IMDb tell us. After a ferry is bombed in New Orleans, an ATF agent joins a unique investigation using experimental surveillance technology to find the bomber, but soon finds himself becoming obsessed with one of the victims. I mean, that's kind of what happens.
Yeah,
That covers most of it. Yeah.
it's a good starting
It kind
point.
of paints a very different picture.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I felt it was fun to talk about this one for a couple things. And I'll just start by saying, as a film geek, film nut, film devourer, I ever since my days working at Hollywood Video, I was one of those video store clerks during my high school and college years.
You are living the dream.
I know, right?
Yeah, right.
Just beautiful. So I started around this time, and this was like 2001, 2002, because I had access to all this physical media library essentially. Because you, as an employee, you got free rentals. I loved putting together as much as I could of a director's entire filmography and going through each film, from the beginning of their career to the latest. And I always
Oh.
found that to be, for myself, the most illustrative of a director's work, especially if they're an auteur, but even if they're not, because you can see so many obvious patterns at that point in terms of what interests them as an artist, what they're pursuing, what they attempt in one movie and then didn't quite perfect, and then they try again later and do perfect, or vice versa. They really perfect right off the gate and then later try it again. It doesn't work as well, whatever the case may be. So anyway, it's just one of my favorite things to do, and it's something I still do because I'm an avid collector of physical media, and so I sort of curate these, viewings for myself, or what have you, whatever you want to call it. And so recently, just happenstance, because of so much chatter on the internet, Tony Scott, the director, is one of the internet's favorite guys, film Twitter's favorite guys right now, for the last several years, and I think that's just because more people are discovering his work and kind of going through his filmography. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2010, 11. I don't have the date on that. It was right after
12.
12. Okay, so
Yes,
around there.
12.
And so he does have a finite body of work now. You can start at the beginning, you can go to the end. You're not waiting for the next Tony Scott, because there won't be another, unfortunately. And obviously Top Gun Maverick, making all the money in the world and drawing more attention to his original Top Gun, I think has just put a lot more eyes on his work and a lot more people wanting to talk about him. And as such, I just thought, hey, I've never seen every single Tony Scott movie. I saw the bulk of them growing up, but I just hadn't seen every single one yet. So I thought, why don't I do my run? And Deja Vu happened to be one of the movies that I missed when it was released theatrically in 2006. I don't know why. It obviously is a premise that really appeals to me, especially once you know more about it when you watch it. But I think it was because it happens to be one that I don't see a lot of chatter of online. I feel like I see mostly, people talking about True Romance, Last Boy Scout, obviously Top Gun, The Hunger, even, a lot of other sort of big Tony Scott hits. This one seems to get passed over more often than not. So I genuinely did not know what the premise of this movie was, besides, what you just said on IMDb there, Ben. And so when I started watching it, I at first realized, oh, right, he's, examining his thing that he was so interested in around this period of his career following Domino, of, chop up editing style, really, trying to find new ways of creating kind of a collage of images, for the viewer. And putting a narrative to that of like, oh, well, this device that the CIA or FBI, I forget the organization,
ATF.
or right, ATF have, is a semi time travel-y kind of device, but it's not time travel. But as the movie goes forward and it becomes obvious where they're going with it, I was just getting more and more excited, to the point where, by the time the third act rolled around, I was ecstatic because, hey, a new time travel movie I haven't heard of. So that was my experience discovering Deja Vu recently.
That's
it
awesome.
snuck under my radar. I remember Man on Fire, which
Yeah.
came out
Man on Fire is another big one.
immediately. Yeah. But somehow had not heard about this one. So I'm so pleased that you brought it into our view, because I don't think we even had it on our giant list of time travel movies.
Nope. I'm really glad that you mentioned the collage in terms of Tony Scott's style of this movie, and I really want to get into that in episode 2 on Deja Vu. But first, before we get there, party favors, if you will.
We like to make the movie-going experience a party.
To do that, we give you, a little smattering of rules, because, what's more fun than rules?
That's how you know you're having fun.
Exactly. We have a few rules for your rewatch or first time watch in some cases, for, a little drinking and a little smoking and a little whatever you want to do.
Pointing at the screen going, hey!
Yes, but of course we're not going to pressure you or anyone to do that stuff. Bill.
And as a great
I have
reminder,
a few things to say.
Oh, good. Well, and as a great reminder, these are meant to be a la carte.
Yes.
Do not do all of these rules. Maybe split them between your friends and all do them separately. But dear God, do not do all of them.
This is
You'll
not a
die.
solo
I don't
game.
care if you're drinking water.
Yeah.
And something I'll throw out to Bill as you're thinking about which rules you want to do in what order. Some of our most successful rules are based around foibles and habits of the director.
Oh, yes.
So if you can point out a recurring thing that this director likes to do, Mr. Scott may have given us some gems.
Yes, he did.
In fact, it was James Cameron that gave us our best one in our first episode when Aaron pointed out anytime you start the shot with wheels on the ground and pan up from there, that's your drink. And boy, howdy, does Cameron
So
just
much.
loved shooting them wheels on the ground.
Mm.
Something about it just really spoke to him. Anyway,
that's his version of Tarantino's foot fetish. Just wheels.
Just wheels.
Let me pitch this question to y'all. What do you think is a distinction between a smoking rule and a drinking rule?
That's usually up to the person proposing the rule. For instance,
I'm just curious about your opinion. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I have a smoking rule because it just seems like it would help with this rule. But, thematically, it can also work like, I don't know what movie this would be for, but it's just like take a hit whenever, there's smoke from a train, things like that, go there. There's a number of ways to utilize it. And I think some movies may lend themselves to smoking more than drinking,
right?
And vice versa. Like I don't know why you would want to do this because you would just be out. But like, take a hit every time Jay and Silent Bob take a hit.
Jesus,
yeah,
that's a lot.
We talked early on in our production of this show about doing pairings. And I think this is a great sort of example of that, where there are some movies that are more beer movies and some movies that are more like hard liquor movies and some movies are more pot movies. And so I think there's something about pairing the moment and the rule to the substance.
Okay.
But for me, the biggest thing is if it's something that's like a cool idea, but if you drank that much, it would hurt you. That gets to be you take a little hit,
right?
But for instance, my first rule for Deja Vu, just like Tony Scott comes in hot with this movie.
Hey,
hot for Scott.
Oh baby,
yeah.
H-O-T.
Did not realize he was Ridley Scott's brother, by the way.
What?
What was that?
I did not realize Tony Scott was Ridley Scott's brother, by the way.
Ah.
You should treat yourself and watch interviews of both Ridley and Tony next to each other, and you'll instantly hear the resemblance. I don't know about C, because
I'm gonna have to.
They do look a little different from each other, but in terms of their voices, you can tell they're both from obviously the same region of England, as well as clearly, the same family.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I've never seen an interview with Tony, but I've obviously seen several with Ridley.
Yeah, and Ridley it's funny because Ridley, this is another topic, but Ridley as an artist is very much a misanthropic curmudgeon, and Tony, while I think for me, and this I'll probably come back to this, but I think Tony's major theme of his work, if there is one, is melancholy, which is similar but distinct. But as a person almost a person that worked with Tony, throughout his career, everybody loved him in terms of just being around him because he was just a goofball and very like positive on set. He always tended to wear like a tackle vest and short shorts and a baseball hat. Just like he looks like, your jolly uncle, he always smoking a cigar sort of thing. Like your jolly uncle at a pool party. That's kind of Tony Scott's whole wardrobe vibe. He was such a character.
Wow.
Yeah, so my first rule, just like Tony Scott, comes in hot with this beginning of Deja Vu. My first rule is a shot rule, and it's take a shot whenever Carlin and his team shouldn't be watching the time window.
Nice.
Dirty old men. I mean, the one woman on their team calls them out on it too, and they don't stop.
They don't stop.
They just
And it don't stop.
They're just like, yeah, that's probably true.
Should we not be? Yeah. All right. So again, this is coming from a guy who does not do the substances. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like what I would want to say.
You can do ginger ale. You can do.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to
do not-
oversell this here in terms of like do this for this, and then you guys both be like that
Mhm.
would kill you or whatever. I would say, all right. You know what? You made a good point there, and so I'll just say do a shot of soda, or whatever substance you think you can get away with every time there is a crash zoom in the movie.
interesting that you mention a directorial choice because I also have a similar rule.
Lay it on me.
Take a drink when Agent Carlin uses directing terms or is like shouted directing terms at him.
Ah, nice.
You know, so like pan or close up or, you know.
Nice. I like that.
Because like I'm going to touch on this later, but it's like it's almost like he's the director in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially with I always want to call it the Google, but it's the goggle.
The goggle.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. With the way he's controlling that, it's I'm going to talk more about that later, but like there's definitely moments where it's like Tony Scott is the director,
Yeah.
but he's directing Denzel
Directing.
to direct.
Yeah. Meta.
The inception of directing.
Awesome. I have a rule. Take a sip every time they say something is out of range.
Mm-hmm. That happens a lot.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
My next rule is
Oh, you know what? I have to amend that. Take 2 sips every time they say something's out of range. 2 sips. Very important distinction there.
It is because you know you'd think with this high tech, you know, piece of equipment, they'd like have a larger range because like they use how many satellites to get the picture of this and like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
I know technology has evolved quite a bit since 2006, but
yeah. I'd like to say one more. I think take a sip. You know what? Actually, but I meant that to take a shot every time, and this is only for like the back half of the movie, but every time some detail is paid off. You know? So it's like you didn't know what was going on when you first saw this object or image in the first part of the movie, and suddenly you get what it means. That's when you got to take a shot.
Damn. Oh, I'm already picturing all of them in my head, and I'm just like, oh man, you're just gonna be the back half of the movie
but see,
is
right.
like...
But see, in this scenario, you're only playing this one game, not the rest, right? So you're watching the first half of the movie. You're sober as anything. By the time you get to the end of the movie, you're trashed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty quickly, you know. So it's like you save it up. It's like you know, it's almost like you're on the roller coaster, right? There you go.
There you go. Similarly, my next rule also happens a lot in, I want to say kind of the beginning, maybe like 20 minutes in, but take a drink whenever Denzel gets an answer that's overly complicated. Basically anytime Adam Goldberg has to like roll his eyes.
And he does do a good eye roll here.
He does.
Another one is just so simple. I just have to say it right now. A shot for Val Kilmer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here on Time to Party, we like to take shots for respect when, you know, someone rightfully deserves that. And, you know, I mean, Bruce Wayne shows up in a movie.
Yeah.
Got to acknowledge
Hell
him.
yeah. That's Iceman, man. That's
that guy.
The ice. A drink for every time Denzel says his name, Doug Carlin.
Doesn't he say it like in an interesting way too? Like he doesn't say Carlin, he says Carlin.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, Denzel has
like,
such a unique cadence to him anyway. Maybe that's just a Denzelism.
Exactly, because like I've heard this before. When he says his own name, it's not Denzel, it's Denzel.
That's true. Yeah.
And like, I want to respect the way that his name is, but I keep forgetting because I've been conditioned to call him Denzel.
Well, but then again, this isn't a cultural issue. This is a one-person issue. This,
I
you know,
mean, true.
I think that maybe even Denzel would be probably okay. I think that I don't know. I'm trying to think. There's probably a comparison here to make to. Gosh, I had it in my head for a second and it's gone now.
Well, I feel like the modern comparison would be the Doctor, the 15th Doctor, Nshoti Gatwa.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I was thinking actually of a music one, which is I think her name is, and I'm going to pronounce it incorrectly. I'm sure Lofe or Lofe. She's Icelandic, and I think it's
not Laufey.
yeah. I think it's something that's more kind of lyric. She said it on a talk show. I think it was Kelly Clarkson, and she tried to get Kelly Clarkson to say it, and it took like 15 tries, and then Kelly Clarkson was
Yes.
like, you know, I can't.
And then she said that Kelly's been saying Bjork's name wrong.
Right, and Bjork's name. Yeah, exactly. So I think at a certain point, Denzel has probably accepted people pronouncing his name the way that they usually pronounce it.
Yeah, like, God, you know, as journalists, we do meet some of these people. So when I was at the Doctor Who premiere and, you know, talking to Nshuti, like, I feel like I butchered his name.
Oh,
but like, you know, he's very sweet and charming, so he would never make anyone feel bad for mispronouncing his name. But
yeah,
but he's great.
yeah,
Like, I can't wait to see him do more stuff.
yeah.
Like, I loved him in Barbie. I
Mm.
loved him in Doctor Who. Obviously, I need to watch Sex Education
Okay,
because people say that's really good.
that's true. They do.
But hopefully he gets a ton more work when he's not in the TARDIS.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
So I have one more rule.
Okay.
And it is a smoking rule.
Ooh.
Because, as I said earlier, it may help. Take a hit whenever someone explains a scientific theory.
Yeah, you're gonna
like
need
the
that.
universe
Yeah.
folding in
Yeah,
on each
yeah,
other.
exactly. Every time they have to explain the pseudo physics or pseudoscience of what's going on here.
Yes. And I think they do a pretty good job of making the science sound science-y.
Sure.
You know, it's not complete technobabble.
Well, we'll get into this when we get into the larger discussion of the movie, but you know, Tony Scott for a while was resisting making this movie because unlike his brother Ridley, he does not like to jump into sci-fi stuff because to him in his own words, he would say that he couldn't get his mind around how it all worked. You know, so you couldn't say to Tony, "Oh, Tony, this is an android. It works because it's supposed to for the script or, you know, for the story."
Right.
Tony would have to know, okay, how does it work? What do these gizmos do? Blah, blah, blah. To the point where, and he was always this way from the beginning of his career, but I think really Top Gun started it in a big way, and then it just kept getting bigger and more important to him as he went on. So by the time he goes to make this, he was in the habit of hiring what he would call role models for about every major character in the script, so he could introduce the actors to them. So like he paired Denzel with a real life, you know, investigator. He paired Val Kilmer with a real life ATF agent. You know, stuff like that. So in terms of the science here, you know, it's very borderline in terms of its credibility, you know, but
Interesting.
But he really wanted to make that work as much as possible because he is not someone who was too big into the idea of suspension of disbelief. He for himself, he really wanted to kind of know the internal workings of stuff that was putting on screen.
You make a great point because it does seem like that Agent Carlin is like the avatar for Tony Scott in the movie because like he wants to know everything and have it explained and have it make sense.
Yeah.
And you know, that's you could definitely see that part of Tony shining through there. Do you have any more rules?
I don't personally. There are, I think, 2 more from Ansel, but I'm having a little trouble making out his handwriting here.
Well, just pick the one that you can read the best.
Okay. I think it says waterfall when the Navy boys in white are on screen.
So a waterfall is when you continuously drink until the whatever thing stops.
Yeah.
So
yep. Good luck with that, folks.
I don't know. Yes, because you know it really happens like twice in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So you will think you've been here before.
You know what? In that
Like-
same vein, I'm gonna say waterfall when you hear the song "Don't Worry, Baby" by the Beach Boys.
Aw, sad.
Aw.
All right, party people, that does it for our first episode on Deja Vu. Come back next week where we do it all over again. Maybe.
Whether you like it or not.
See, that's the gimmick
Whether
of
you
this.
like
See,
it or
that's the
not.
gimmick of this episode is that just post this first one 3 times.
There you go. We just saved ourselves a whole lot of work.
Job done.
But before we go, Bill, where can people find you on the internet and such?
You can find me on most socials at Bill Bria, Billbria. If you'd like to read more of my work, there's a link to my Authory page on my X profile. It's authory.com/BillBria. Check me out. I also host or co-host my own podcast on the Stranded Panda Network called Bill and Ashley's Terror Theater. We just dropped an episode on Longlegs today, so check it out.
Ooh. Fancy. You can find me on the internet. I'm at bsilverio20 on Instagram, X, Blue Sky, etc.
And you can find me on the internet. I am at The Indecisionist on all the meta properties and the other ones that I care about. So find me on the ones I care about.
You can use the hashtag time to party. That's time the number 2 party.
Or time the number 2 party, all spelled out, thanks to Warwick.
Yeah, if places still use hashtags, I guess.
Yeah. For all the good it does you.
Yes. And, for all our mustachioed friends and for those who don't have them, be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
Whoa.